My beloved child, I want you to pause and feel what's already stirring around you. Though your eyes may not fully see it yet, the atmosphere has changed. The divine current is no longer still, it has started to move in your direction, and it carries an assignment with your name on it. You've walked through long seasons of silence, of seeming delay, of questioning whether I even remembered the promises I made to you. But what I want you to know is that nothing has ever been still in my kingdom. While you were walking through what felt like emptiness, I was aligning every hidden thread, every closed door, every redirection for this very moment. Tonight isn't just another night on the calendar, it is the marked time in the spirit when heaven releases what has been held back for the right second. My angels are not just watching you anymore, they are surrounding you, circling you with their wings of protection, because what's arriving is too holy to be interrupted. Your faithfulness has brought you here. I saw you when no one else did. I saw you choosing me when compromise looked easier. I saw you hold on when you could have let go. And now, my child, this night belongs to you. It's your turn, not because others failed, but because you stayed. You remained when many ran. You trusted when many cursed. You waited while others took shortcuts, and I will never overlook such purity in a world of speed. The shift is no longer future tense, it has started right now. It is beginning not with noise, but with a holy unfolding. It is gentle but powerful, quiet but undeniable. I'm turning the page, but not like men turns it in panic or escape. I'm turning it as an author who knows the climax of the story I wrote with my own hand. I declare over you now that this moment will not resemble the past, and you will not return to the place you fought so hard to leave behind. The shift tonight is personal. It doesn't require an announcement. It will be evident in the way things fall into place that never cooperated before. Where there was once resistance, now there will be peace. Where confusion clouded your thoughts, clarity will speak in divine whispers. And the best part, my beloved, is that this shift didn't require you to strive, it only required you to stay close to me. Tonight is the fulfillment of that staying. You may not know how it's all going to unfold, but I do. I'm not asking you to understand the path, I'm asking you to walk it with your eyes on me. And as you take each step, what was hidden will begin to show itself. You'll see the fingerprints of grace on everything, and you will know that this moment was never delayed, it was preserved. So lean in now. Don't resist the unfamiliar just because it feels different than what you imagined. I'm not giving you a recycled blessing, I'm sending you something original, tailored, holy. I'm not adjusting leftovers for your portion, I'm bringing the first fruits of the promise straight to your doorstep. The shift begins with you because I trust you with what's next. I trust your heart to carry it, your hands to hold it, your soul to walk it out in humility. You are not receiving this surprise because you demanded it. You're receiving it because you were ready when no one saw you preparing. My child, hear me tonight. Everything is already in motion. What you thought was waiting was actually building. What you thought was stillness was strategic. This night is different. This night is yours. And I, your Jesus, am already standing in the moment that's about to collide with your present. Keep breathing. Keep expectant. Because the shift has already started, and you're right in the center of it. The moment you've long anticipated isn't merely a conclusion to your waiting, it is the beginning of an entirely new rhythm orchestrated by heaven's decree. The halls of the unseen have already resounded with the decision that now echoes toward your reality. What you've cried for, longed for, hoped against hope for, has been signed off with the authority of my eternal hand. This isn't simply a response to your petitions, it's a holy unveiling of something far greater than what your words could frame. You were asking for resolution, but I am delivering transformation. I did not forget your requests. Instead, I expanded the borders of your expectancy so I could deliver something beyond comprehension. Tonight's unfolding doesn't resemble the requests you once timidly offered in prayer, it surpasses them. Because you kept knocking even when the door seemed bolted shut. I'm opening not one, but many, each one leading to joy you thought was out of reach. This isn't just favor, it's fulfillment, layered with revelation, wrapped in divine intentionality. While you were waiting, I was designing. While you were enduring, I was finishing. What's arriving is not the result of chance, luck, or coincidence. It is the direct manifestation of a holy agenda that had you in mind from the very beginning. I saw you settle for lesser hopes because you were afraid to believe again. But I never reduced my vision for you. Even when you stopped dreaming, I never stopped preparing. What's about to enter your space is not man-made nor self-manufactured. It is the evidence of my hand-crafting goodness while you felt forgotten. This surprise, my beloved, will not just meet your need, it will touch your soul in places where language failed you. It's not merely what you asked me for, it's what I knew you needed but couldn't articulate. Your journey shaped the container, and now I am pouring in what fits perfectly, not a drop wasted, not a moment rushed. There is timing in this, yes, but there's also wisdom, beauty, and legacy in what I am now releasing. You see, this surprise carries not only a blessing, it carries your name, your purpose, your restoration. It will reach into areas you buried and bring them back to life without explanation, and others will watch, bewildered, at the bloom that erupts in the dry places of your life. They'll ask how it happened so fast, but only you and I will know how long it truly took. There were things I needed to protect you from before I could release this safely into your hands. Not everyone could be around when it arrived. Not every environment was suitable for this unveiling. So I allowed things to fall away, not to punish you, but to shield what I was preserving for this very hour. I'm not just surprising you with a gift, I'm proving my intimacy with you. This is a love letter written in events, not just words. You won't have to convince anyone that it came from me. It will carry my signature in ways that cannot be duplicated. It will comfort places in you that you thought would never recover. You won't be waiting anymore, you will be stewarding something sacred. And you won't have to perform to keep it. I'm not giving you a burden disguised as a blessing, I'm handing you a breath of fresh life that carries peace, not pressure. You will sleep differently tonight, not because the circumstances immediately shifted, but because your spirit will finally recognize the presence of what's been approaching all along. And as this surprise unfolds, you'll notice how everything starts aligning without your effort. There will be no striving in this season, only receiving. Doors will not creak open slowly, they will swing wide without resistance. Conversations will carry divine timing. Encounters will have purpose. Even your delays will start to make sense when you realize they were appointments disguised as disappointments. And above all, you will know this: heaven didn't just listen to you, heaven favored you. The surprise you're receiving is not random, it is reserved. And I, your Jesus, made sure it would only arrive when it could do more than fix your present. It had to define your future. Get ready, beloved. This isn't what you expected, it's what you've been unknowingly prepared to carry. You were never invisible to me, not for a second. Even when the room felt quiet and the responses seemed delayed, I was near, closer than the breath you carried in those moments of deepest ache. I saw the times you tried to rejoice for others while secretly wondering when your own turn would arrive. I heard the silent cries behind closed doors, the inner battles no one noticed, the private sacrifices that cost more than anyone ever knew. They thought you were fine because you kept showing up with strength, but I knew the weight hidden beneath your obedience. I never looked away from your struggle. When you felt unseen by the world, I was studying every detail of your journey with tenderness. I counted your sighs. I tracked the steps you took when hope seemed faint. I understood your confusion when others advanced and you stood still, not because you lacked faith, but because the promise felt so far away it blurred your vision. But tonight, I declare with authority and certainty, it is your moment to be lifted. This isn't a consolation prize. This isn't delayed favor. This is honor, divine recompense. Not because you demanded recognition, but because you kept your heart clean when resentment tried to plant itself. You resisted bitterness when it tried to become your shield. You refused to let envy contaminate your praise. That posture didn't go unnoticed. Your integrity under pressure, your worship in silence, your surrender in confusion, it has now summoned the breakthrough that can no longer be withheld. When I said the last shall be first, I had you in mind. When I said I prepare a table in the presence of your adversaries, I was referencing this hour. When I promised to exalt the humble, I was pointing toward this very moment of divine lifting. Not just lifting in position, but lifting in clarity, in strength, in favor, in visibility. You will not have to chase this, it's already unfolding before your eyes. You're stepping into a new dimension where your name is no longer whispered only in heaven, it's being announced in the earth. The spaces that previously ignored you will now recognize the oil that rests upon you. Not because of performance, not because of perfection, but because of the purity you've maintained in the shadows. And make no mistake, what's happening now is not about spotlight. It's about stewardship. I am not merely elevating you for display, I'm entrusting you with access that carries legacy. You will walk into environments you once watched from a distance, not as a visitor, but as one sent. You will carry yourself differently, not out of pride, but out of the awareness that I have validated you in ways no man ever could. This moment is not about catching up, it's about acceleration. I am redeeming time in a way that defies logic. Where others end years to build, I will give you days to establish. What others acquired through effort, you will receive through my instruction. You won't need to over-explain how it happened. You won't be able to, even if you tried. My fingerprints will be so evident, your only explanation will be, the Lord did it. And those who thought they had to step ahead of you will now witness your divine launch, not fueled by ambition, but driven by promise. Even now, my presence is settling around you in waves that confirm you are no longer overlooked. I'm spotlighting you in the spirit first, so when the manifestation reaches you, it doesn't overwhelm you, it confirms you. This is the moment that reverses the former season. I'm not sending you into a cycle of striving, I'm ushering you into rest while reward finds you. You won't have to fight to be chosen anymore. You've already been claimed. I've marked you, appointed you, covered you, and now I release you not to prove yourself, but to fulfill what's been waiting for you all along. My child, it's your turn, not because the others failed, but because you remained faithful. Now watch what happens when heaven announces your arrival. You mistook my quiet for distance, but my silence was never abandonment. I wasn't far from you, I was closer than you realized, silently weaving every unseen thread into a design only I could understand. I never ignored your cries. I never overlooked your questions. But I was speaking in a language beyond words, in stillness, in delay, in space, in rearranged timelines. There were mysteries unfolding around you that couldn't be explained prematurely. You see, some things are too sacred to be shouted and too weighty to be rushed. I knew if I answered you too soon, the blessing would land before you were fully ready to receive it. And so, I waited with you, not apart from you, guarding the beauty I was forming in secret. My silence wasn't empty, it was full of layers, strategies, alignments, and divine setups. What looked like nothing was actually everything rearranging behind the veil. You often asked, why isn't anything changing? But I was preparing you, not punishing you. I was establishing roots so deep that no storm could ever pull you from your place of purpose. While you were wondering if I had stopped listening, I was scripting a chapter with such precision that even one word spoken too early could have shifted the entire trajectory. There were lessons you had to absorb without noise. There was a foundation that required solitude. Sometimes, the clearest answers come not through immediate replies, but through transformation that is revealed only after the process completes its full course. You were never left behind, you were being reserved for something that couldn't be explained to others, because it was unique to you alone. I didn't want your heart to rely only on emotional highs or external signs. I was growing your discernment. I was deepening your dependence not on outcomes but on me. And now, because you stayed with me even in the silence, I can trust you with more than you imagined. You didn't walk away when I was quiet. You didn't change direction when clarity seemed distant. You remained even when you were uncertain. And because of that, this moment is pregnant with the reward that silence protected. What's coming isn't a compensation, it's a manifestation born from sacred stillness. My voice will now begin to thunder in ways that sweep away your former confusion, and you'll understand why I spoke little then, but will speak loudly now. Some things I could only prepare in silence. Had I spoken too much, you might have leaned on instruction instead of intimacy. I wanted your ears to seek me out of longing, not routine. I wasn't hiding from you, I was hiding something for you. And now, the hidden is about to be uncovered. The sealed scroll is about to be opened, and with it comes answers that will make sense of years you questioned. You won't just receive information, you'll receive revelation. You'll look back and see that nothing was wasted, not a single delay, not a single unanswered cry. It was all converging into the crescendo of this very hour. And here's the beauty, my child, what I'm releasing now carries more than relief. It carries impartation. You've been forged in the silence to carry what many cannot hold. You've learned to recognize my presence without needing volume. You found me in the quiet, and now, when the breakthrough comes, you'll recognize my fingerprints in every detail, not because it's loud, but because it matches what I whispered in the stillness. You are stepping into a realm where every silence you endured becomes the backdrop to the sound of fulfillment echoing all around you. The hush of that long season is about to be swallowed up by the roar of heaven's release over your life. So don't regret the quiet. Don't resent the time it took. Don't doubt the silence that shaped you. It held more power than 1,000 voices trying to explain what only I could reveal in timing. That long pause was the birthplace of tonight's promise. And now that the wait has ended, my beloved, step boldly into what the silence prepared you to receive. There were treasures with your name on them that I kept veiled, not because you were unworthy, but because I wanted them untouched by premature exposure. I saw the opposition that would have tried to contaminate or sabotage the very things you've longed for, so I covered them. I wrapped them in mystery, surrounded them with delay, concealed them from the eyes of those who would have tried to claim what didn't belong to them. You didn't realize it then, but what felt like being denied was actually my fierce defense over what was destined for your hands alone. The hiddenness wasn't rejection, it was preservation. And now, the time has come for those divine holdings to be unwrapped, not in secrecy, but in joyful unveiling. What I protected wasn't just a blessing, it was a holy assignment that required maturity, humility, and sensitivity to steward well. It carried weight. It required spiritual depth. So I led you through refining moments that would cleanse your motives and sharpen your discernment. And now, because you've grown in ways only heaven could measure, I am releasing what was once covered. But it will arrive quietly. The unveiling will carry a fragrance that signals its origin. There will be no confusion. What I reveal tonight will bear unmistakable evidence that it was birthed from above. It will not come with chaos. It will come with clarity. And it will not ask for validation, for it will validate itself by the peace and power it carries. I never asked you to understand the reasons behind the waiting, I only asked you to trust me while I protected what you couldn't see. And now, you will see that it was never out of reach. It was simply set apart until it could emerge untainted, brilliant, whole. The very thing you thought was lost will now emerge refined. You're not being given leftovers or a consolation for what was missed. You're being handed the exact portion I always intended to place in your care, unmarred by time, untouched by enemy plans, untouched by human interference. Because I preserved it, you can now receive it without fear of it being incomplete. What I reveal tonight isn't just for your benefit, it's a sign to others that I am faithful beyond comprehension. Your testimony will be a declaration that I guard what belongs to my children until the appointed hour. There are eyes watching who once doubted your destiny. Your voices that spoke too soon, assuming your story had no next chapter. But what they did not know was that I had you and your promise hidden in the cleft of the rock, away from storms and sabotage, until the atmosphere was safe for emergence. And now, not only is the moment right, the environment has been purified by my hand. Those who need to witness your revealing are in place. The ground is prepared. The atmosphere is charged. This celebration isn't just about receiving, it's about revealing what I've authored all along. The unveiling will come in forms you didn't predict. It may show up through conversations that open new realms. It may flow through opportunities that feel strangely familiar, as if your spirit remembers them before your eyes recognize them. That's because I wrote these moments before time began, and now they are catching up to you in divine rhythm. You won't need to force this unveiling. It will unfold naturally, beautifully, effortlessly. Not because it's easy, but because it's ordained. And when you witness it, you will feel the ache of waiting vanish in a moment, as joy takes its place. Not shallow excitement, but deep, reverent joy, the kind that settles in your bones and stays. And with this unveiling comes new responsibility, not to carry burdens, but to release light. You will shine differently. You'll walk with unshakable confidence, not sourced from pride, but from knowing that what is now revealed was always yours in my heart. And I, your Jesus, delight in celebrating with you, not at a distance, but beside you. This unveiling is personal. I am not just giving you a breakthrough. I'm sharing it with you like a father handing over an heirloom kept for such a time as this. Celebrate boldly. Celebrate freely. Tonight, the covering is lifted. What I hid for your protection is now revealed in glory, and nothing can stop what I've decided to bring into the light. What's approached you is not something to shrink from, it's something to stand for. I have authored a moment so intricately connected to your identity that even the winds that carry it are laced with my intentional touch. There is no confusion surrounding this next season. It is marked, set apart, and bearing the seal of my favor with your name woven into its design. You have spent too many hours wondering if what's next will overwhelm or expose you. But I say this: there is no threat in what I've orchestrated. There is only glory disguised in unfamiliar wrapping. What is coming toward you was never meant to frighten, it was meant to announce. Announce to your soul that the shift has already begun. Announce to your spirit that alignment is here. Announce to your life that the days of merely surviving are being replaced with the dawning of divine significance. You don't need to brace for impact, you need to open your hands for reception. My child, you've been conditioned by experiences that taught you to expect difficulty with every turn. But this time, the turn is in your favor. This isn't another cycle of opposition, it's the arrival of fulfillment you forgot how to expect. You don't need to analyze or overthink how it will land. I didn't ask you to manage the miracle, I only asked you to trust the one sending it. And I am sending it with joy, not hesitation. I am not calculating whether you deserve it. I'm declaring that you are ready for it. Because I don't gift according to performance, I deliver based on preparation. And you, whether you realize it or not, have been in training for this encounter long before you felt the first stirring of transition. The unfamiliar sound you're beginning to sense within your spirit is not danger, it's destiny. It's the voice of breakthrough echoing through the corridors of your atmosphere. You may feel the trembling of change, but that tremble isn't from instability, it's from the weight of glory making contact with earth. You are not walking into something chaotic. You are stepping into a blueprint designed with you at the center of its assignment. What's coming next has been filtered through my wisdom, birthed in my goodness, and bathed in the fragrance of divine timing. Every step forward you take now will be guided by a clarity you didn't have before. And where you once hesitated, you will now proceed with peace that surpasses all earthly logic. Let go of the reflex that expects resistance. I'm not bringing you into a battle, I'm ushering you into possession. This is not a time to question your capacity, it is time to remember that I have already expanded your spiritual shoulders to carry what's arriving. This new chapter does not require you to strive, it simply requires you to remain rooted in who I've called you to be. The instructions will come, not as riddles, but as clear direction. You'll find yourself in the right place without having forced anything. You'll encounter the right people without having orchestrated a plan. Because I go before you, and I prepare every detail in advance, not just for your comfort, but for my glory to be revealed through your obedience. This next stretch of your journey has been anointed to accelerate you into rooms you once dreamed of entering. Not to impress, but to impact. You will not shrink to fit old patterns, you will rise to fit divine design. My spirit will confirm it through peace that rests upon every decision. I will affirm it through signs that align with your inner witness. I will surround you with evidence that this is not a dream, it's your divine reality catching up with my eternal intention. You won't have to defend your arrival, you'll carry the aroma of heaven's endorsement. So do not entertain anxiety about the days ahead. They have already been captured in my hand and written in joy. The future you once feared is the very space I've already filled with my presence. There is no darkness waiting around the bend, there is light breaking forth from within it. What's coming is not laced with sorrow, it's wrapped in celebration. The fragrance you will soon smell in your spirit will not be smoke from battle, it will be the scent of promise unveiled, blessings multiplied, purpose activated. My child, do not fear what's next. It knows who you are. It was made for you. It's wearing your name. And I am walking you into it, step by holy step. You've been measuring time by missed opportunities, counting seasons by what didn't happen, thinking perhaps you wandered off course or misread my leading. But what you call delay was actually design. Nothing in your path has been wasted or aimless. Every moment that felt paused, every step that seemed suspended, was part of a higher choreography your eyes couldn't yet interpret. The waiting was not an interruption, it was a necessary adjustment to ensure what I was preparing wouldn't arrive before your spirit. Surroundings and circumstances were harmonized to receive it in full. You see, my answers don't operate in chaos. I never release what you need into an atmosphere that would distort or damage it. I wait until all things converge according to my blueprint, not your timeline. There were appointments I rescheduled not because you were unworthy, but because the environment would have swallowed the very breakthrough I had assigned to bless you. I saw the traps that were forming ahead. I noticed the shadows that lingered around doors you thought were ready. And so I slowed what looked promising to shield what was sacred. I move you through detours, not to confuse, but to create a smoother passage that would require less repair. I withheld entrances that glowed on the outside but carried compromise underneath. I allowed some things to stall, not to hurt you, but to give time for the unseen details to catch up to my eternal promise. You thought it was the enemy closing doors, but many of those doors were ones I gently shut myself because I loved you too much to let you enter without protection. The people you lost during those pauses weren't meant to journey with you into what I'm unfolding now. The delays revealed what couldn't go with you. They were filters, separating what was temporary from what is eternal. You didn't just wait for a promise, you matured for it. And because of that, the answer is coming differently. It won't feel rushed. It won't feel forced. It will fit you like it always belonged in your hands. I was never ignoring your urgency, I was shaping a future that wouldn't collapse under pressure. If I had responded the moment you cried out, the response would have lacked the fullness you didn't even know you needed. But I saw the entire landscape. I heard your voice, but I also heard the echoes of generations coming after you. And I needed to build something that would outlast the moment. That's why the delay wasn't about time, it was about structure. The foundation I laid while you waited is what will keep the promise from sinking when it arrives. I didn't just build for today, I built for everything connected to your destiny. Now, you'll notice how things begin to click into place without struggle. You'll find that what once resisted you will now welcome you. There is a readiness in the air because all things have finally lined up, not just externally, but within you. The lessons you learned during the pause have become keys. Your patience has become access. Your trust has become a currency that now unlocks the gates that once seemed sealed. And when it comes, it won't resemble anything from your past. It will be wrapped in peace, delivered with confirmation, and clothed in stability. Not only will it arrive, you'll be ready to hold it without fear of losing it. The miracle wasn't just something I was preparing for you, it was something I was preparing you for. I've been shaping your thoughts, strengthening your inner man, training your vision to recognize what's truly of me. And now, when you receive what I'm sending, you'll treat it with reverence, not anxiety. Because you'll understand that this wasn't a sudden gift, it was a perfectly timed fulfillment. One that carries alignment, not just answers. One that brings order, not confusion. And one that reinforces how deeply involved I've been in every hidden moment of your journey. So rest, my child. In this knowing, not a single second was wasted. Every perceived pause was purposeward. And now that the clock has turned in your favor, you'll see that the wait wasn't about withholding, it was about preparing the exact moment where need, purpose, promise, and provision could meet at the same intersection. That moment is now. The delay is over. The alignment is complete. And what's been tailor-made for you is no longer pending, it's already on its way, right on time. In the stillness of the night, when all the world seemed to move on, when every light had gone dim and the only sound was the silent ache in your chest, I was there. You may have thought your tears dissolved into your pillow unnoticed, but I gathered them, each one, a precious droplet of your heart's cry that I preserved like treasure. Not a single sigh escaped my attention. I lingered near while you trembled in confusion, when your words failed and all that poured from you was a soundless yearning. Even in your deepest weariness, I counted your inhale and exhale, knowing your battle wasn't just physical but spiritual, an invisible wrestle between believing I would come through and fearing I never would. But I want you to know, beloved, that I was not only aware, I was moved. I leaned in. I took your pain and kept it safely with me, not to let it define you, but to prove just how deeply I care. I did not let those nights go to waste. While you wept, I worked. While you collapsed into fatigue, I stood guard over your spirit. You couldn't see it, but there were moments I dispatched help to sustain you when your strength nearly broke apart. There were whispers I sent into your atmosphere, gentle impressions to remind you that you were not forsaken. You called out for me, and even when it seemed like I said nothing in return, I was speaking in ways that only your spirit could catch, ways that built resilience where you thought only exhaustion lived. You felt alone, but you were never abandoned. You felt forgotten, but I held you closer than ever. You wondered if I understood, and yet I was the only one who truly did. I've stored every breath of agony like a sacred archive, not as a record of your suffering, but as evidence of your journey, proof that in the furnace of despair, you didn't walk away. That is why what's coming cannot be small. That's why I will not allow the answer to be average. Because your nights were not filled with trivial sorrow, they were layered with depth, sincerity, vulnerability. You trusted me when it hurt the most. You clung to me even when your grip slipped. And I, the one who never slumbers, saw it all unfold in real time. I never turned away from the storm in your soul. I stepped closer. I wrapped myself around you like a blanket you couldn't see. I became the strength in your bones when you wanted to stop trying. I became the light inside you when external brightness disappeared. What I'm now sending will speak directly to the places that wept. It won't be a general blessing, it will be an answer that speaks your language, one that only you and I will fully comprehend. It will reach down into the deepest caverns of what broke and restore not just function, but wholeness. You see, this isn't about compensation. This is about recognition. I am not rewarding your strength, I'm honoring your surrender. I am not paying you back, I am revealing what I built in the dark while you trusted with no visible reason to do so. Those tears build something sacred. They form the foundation of a testimony that will speak long after this moment passes. Others will see the fruit, but only you will understand the root. Only you will know what it cost to remain. And that's why this breakthrough will not just touch your life, it will touch generations. Because when you were ready to break, you broke open, not apart. You let me in instead of shutting me out. And that has changed everything. That has qualified you for what I've held in reserve. So when you begin to feel the wind shift, when you start to sense the nearness of what's being released, let your soul remember this. Not a moment of your pain was overlooked. Not a breath of your grief was wasted. I've recorded it all not to remind you of sadness, but to frame your joy in context. This joy will not be shallow, it will be a deep, healing river. The kind that only flows after nights filled with longing. The kind that carries glory, because it knows the price of waiting. And my beloved, that river has already begun to rise. There is a realm beyond what your natural eyes can capture, where your belief carved paths through barriers too large for human hands to shift. While you walked in obedience through dry land, you didn't realize the tremors your trust was creating beneath the surface. Every time you chose to believe when it felt unreasonable, invisible chains were snapping. Each time you stood firm without any proof in sight, realms began to shift and ancient blockades that had restricted not just you but generations before you were being uprooted. You didn't see it because I shielded you from the weight of the warfare. I wanted you to keep walking, not be paralyzed by the size of what stood between you and my promise. What you couldn't perceive was that your simple yes, spoken in the dark, was louder than the loudest declaration made in daylight. It carried a force that pierced through opposition crafted to keep you stagnant. You have no idea the magnitude of what your faith has cleared out of your way. There were strongholds that had taken root long before you breathed your first breath, patterns you weren't even aware you were breaking, and atmospheres that had become accustomed to silence until your belief broke through. Your spiritual posture carried more power than any performance ever could. You didn't have to shout, strive, or impress. You only had to keep saying yes to me when fear told you to run. And in doing so, you've become a trailblazer in the spirit. You've become one who walks where there used to be walls. You didn't ask for this role, but your willingness gave you the authority to occupy territory others were too afraid to approach. There were curses that were trying to echo forward, but your trust interrupted them. There were unseen hands trying to hold back your forward movement, but your persistence weakened their grip. You didn't even feel the full weight of what was against you, because I absorbed it. I fought silently while you kept believing boldly. That's why you never fully cracked under pressure. That's why you kept moving, even when everything around you said you should have collapsed. The mountains that once seemed immovable have now been cast aside not with noise, but with quiet confidence. A confidence didn't come from knowledge. It came from intimacy. You didn't just believe in my works, you believed in my character. And that has made all the difference. You walked paths that others gave up on. You believed for outcomes that logic could not support. And even when results were slow to come, your faith never completely faded. It flickered at times, but it never went out. That flicker was enough for me to respond. I didn't require perfection, I just needed honesty. And you gave me that. You gave me your belief when your heart was broken. You offered hope when circumstances tried to convince you it was over. You chose me, again and again, when disappointment offered an easier escape. That choice I'm not going to notice it. That trust has spoken volumes louder than words. Because of that faith, the road ahead will not look like the ones behind you. You are stepping into a cleared field. The debris of past resistance hath been swept away. Your view will be different because the fog has lifted. Your steps will feel lighter, not because life is easy, but because your spirit hath been strengthened. You will begin to sense a freedom that seems unfamiliar, not because it's new, but because you've never walked in this level of release before. The doors that would not budge in prior seasons will now swing open with ease, not because they changed, but because you did. You carry something now that cannot be denied. You carry evidence. This next chapter isn't about struggling to access what belongs to you. It's about walking fully into the places already unlocked by the power of unseen surrender. What you see unfolding will finally match what you dared to believe in secret. And when others ask how you got here, you won't point to strategies or steps, you'll point to the quiet, trembling belief that dared to whisper yes when everything inside you said it was safer to say no. That faith has brought you here. That faith has made room for the fulfillment that now surrounds you. And that faith will continue to build bridges into futures that would have never existed without your unseen, relentless trust in me. There were moments you faced barriers so firm they seemed like eternal verdicts. Doors that refused to open. Pathways that turned cold without explanation. You asked, why does everything close before I reach it? But what you couldn't see then was that I wasn't letting rejection define you. I was preserving your energy for the moment when approval would meet you with unstoppable force. What looked like a denial was simply a postponement, not caused by failure, but fueled by strategy. I never said no to your promise, I said not yet, because I had planned a release so swift, so saturated in acceleration, that it would silence every voice that dared say you'd missed your moment. And now, that release has been triggered. The gates are opening, and what once crept slowly toward you is now sprinting with precision that darkness can neither slow nor block. This shift isn't gradual, it's divine urgency. There's a holy rush that has begun on your behalf, because what I'm sending has waited long enough in the corridors of preparation. It hath been tested, refined, cleared of hindrance. Every element that delayed it has been removed. What once stood in its way, spiritual interference, emotional unrest, false alignments, internal hesitation, all of it has been dealt with in the quiet, and now there is nothing left standing in its path. The resistance that used to deter your blessings has lost its grip. This isn't simply breakthrough, it's release under mandate. A sacred assignment has now been activated, and the command from heaven is, deliver without delay. No power from darkness can lay a hand on what's been dispatched. I have stationed angelic messengers to escort every fulfillment into your life, and they do not travel with fear, they move with authority. They are not arriving with tentative hopes, they are coming with decreed outcomes. They are carrying instructions to place into your hands what was once held up, and they cannot be stopped. I've overridden the cycles of interference. I've dismantled the patterns that used to repeat. This time, what is yours will reach you untouched, untainted, undetoured. And when it comes, you won't have to wrestle to receive it, it will land gently in your possession because it was always meant for you. The speed at which things will begin to shift will surprise you. There won't be time to second guess. The moment you step into alignment with my whisper, responses will begin to appear. There will be movements in areas that have been dormant. There will be rapid unlocking of connections you've waited on for years. The calls that never came will suddenly ring. The answers that seemed buried will rise to the surface. And in all of it, you will feel a divine current carrying you, not because you pushed, but because I declared it was time. This isn't a reward for effort, it's a response to timing. It's the evidence that what I ordain cannot be delayed forever. And while this urgency carries speed, it also brings precision. Nothing about this movement will feel chaotic. There will be a divine order woven into every step, and you will notice how right everything feels, not emotionally right, but spiritually aligned. You won't need to force circumstances to fit, you'll simply notice they already do. The divine yes has already gone before you, and now everything that once stood still will begin to respond. Environments will cooperate. Resources will show up. Favor will follow your footsteps. Not because of coincidence, but because you're walking in a moment that was sealed for you from the beginning. And now, its seal has been broken not by man but by my word. So don't brace yourself for another delay. Anticipate swift fulfillment. Welcome quick reversals. Expect sudden changes that carry my fingerprint. And when it begins, don't question the pace. Just walk with me in it. The denials of the past were not punishments, they were divine pauses waiting for perfect synchronization. And that moment has arrived. The time is no longer approaching. It is here. And the delivery that once felt distant is already en route, unstoppable, untouchable, and undeniably yours. Before your feet touched the floor this morning, something in heaven had already been released on your behalf. You may not have sensed it yet, but the movement began the moment you chose to continue trusting me, even in uncertainty. Right now, messengers from my throne are moving swiftly toward the coordinates of your surrender, carrying exact assignments coded to your obedience, your worship, your perseverance. These are not ordinary angelic movements, they are specialized, divinely timed deployments carrying packages you didn't know were in transit. They have been waiting for this precise window, and now, with the order given and nothing left to hinder, they are traveling with urgency toward you. Not one will arrive late. Not one will lose its course. Each has been briefed in the courts of my presence and assigned your name in heavenly ink. These angels don't bring vague encouragement, they carry actual change. They come not to observe, but to execute what has already been decided in realms beyond natural hearing. They've been entrusted with keys to locked doors, maps to hidden resources, and scrolls that activate divine encounters. Their wings don't merely stir wind, they carry purpose. Each step they take dismantles something the enemy tried to structure against you. Each movement they make clears space in the atmosphere for divine downloads to reach your spirit. And as they approach, your surroundings will begin to sense the shift, even before you comprehend it. You'll feel it in the way your heart suddenly finds rest. You will feel it in the way conversations begin to pivot toward your promise. These are the precursors of angelic presence executing divine orders. What they are bringing cannot be fabricated or manipulated by human effort. These angels aren't responding to panic. They are moving by strategy. They are not improvising, they are operating with instruction written by my hand, wrapped in eternal accuracy. You didn't request this by accident, you were aligned for it. You positioned your heart without even realizing it, and now the fulfillment is chasing the one who remained grounded in trust. I've watched you walk when it was easier to collapse. I've seen you give when lack surrounded you. I've heard the prayers no one else knew you whispered. And because you remained, because you didn't disengage from me when I was quiet, I've authorized a movement in the heavenlies that will soon touch your earthly reality with unmistakable evidence. These angels are not only delivering to you, they are also protecting what's on the way. There are forces that would have tried to interfere, distract, or corrupt what I'm sending, but they will not succeed. My heavenly ones are not passive, they are warriors. Their presence enforces my authority in regions where darkness once claimed space. And as they go before you, obstacles will crumble, misunderstandings will be dissolved, and confusion will scatter. The realm of confusion is incompatible with the assignments I've given these messengers. They carry clarity, direction, revelation, and confirmation. You won't have to figure everything out. Much will be revealed to you at the exact moment you need to act. And when it happens, you'll know this was never coincidence. It was coordination from my throne. You will encounter these divine helpers not just in supernatural whispers, but in very real outcomes, papers signed, doors opened, calls answered, burdens lifted, dreams reignited. They are not just bringing spiritual strength, they are aligning timelines, hearts, and environments. Watch how swiftly things start to arrange themselves without your striving. You'll recognize the invisible hand behind visible change. This is the kind of orchestration only my kingdom can produce. It will happen in such elegant, powerful precision that even your enemies will have no explanation for the way things suddenly turned in your favor. That's because this was never man's doing. It was mine, authored in the secret place and now being fulfilled in front of your eyes. So take heart, my beloved. Heaven is not distant. Help is not delayed. Reinforcements have already been released. What I have started, no force can stop. These angelic beings are not coming to consider, they are coming to complete. They will not knock gently. They will enter with assurance. They do not wait for permission from man, they already hold authority from me. And now, they are headed your direction, carrying what belongs to you, untouched by interference, with your name engraved on every promise they bring. Stand ready. They are closer than you think. There is a sound rising from your life not created by noise, not shaped by attention, but born in the secret chambers where you chose surrender over recognition. That quiet yes you whispered when no one applauded, that internal decision to remain faithful even when you received no reward, it has not only reached me, it has now begun to reverberate through dimensions you never imagined. What you sowed in silence is now resounding in realms that hold the influence to shift what once refused to acknowledge your value. You didn't campaign for visibility. You didn't perform for validation. And because of that, the echo now rising from your unseen obedience is pure, powerful, and unstoppable. You honored my voice above public opinion. You chose to follow me when the path lacked praise. And now, the very arenas that disregarded your potential are beginning to experience a holy reverberation of frequency they cannot ignore. This isn't about revenge or recognition. This is about manifestation. This is about me honoring what you built in the dark by causing it to speak loudly in the light. The platforms you once viewed from the outside are no longer inaccessible. The voices that once overlooked your worth will soon echo back words you never thought you'd hear, words of invitation, of acknowledgement, of shift. But you must understand, this is not about rising to be seen, it is about being revealed to fulfill. Because you remained rooted while others ran ahead, I am now sending influence that is not tainted by striving. You will not need to explain yourself to gain entrance. Your presence will begin to carry a weight that causes environments to pause. Not because of charisma, but because of consecration. Not because of self-promotion, but because of spiritual integrity. Those quiet decisions to walk away from shortcuts, to speak with kindness when you could have retaliated, to serve when you were tired, to give when you were empty, those moments created a sound that has reached my ears. And now that sound is expanding, filling spaces that once silenced your voice. The same rooms that once ignored your presence will be filled with the evidence of your faithfulness. There are meetings happening without your knowledge where your name is being mentioned with reverence, not out of pity but out of recognition. There are hearts beginning to turn toward you, not because of your efforts, but because of my timing. You didn't push your way into position. I've carried your name through heavenly channels, and now it's resting on the hearts of those I've prepared to partner with what I placed in you. These aren't opportunities born of ambition, they are connections born of my divine sequence. What seemed closed for so long will begin to unfold, not by your hands, but by mine. You are not returning to the same settings, you're being brought back with a different sound surrounding you. Where there was once dismissal, there will now be distinction. Where you were once labeled insignificant, the weight of my glory resting on your life will cause a holy recognition. You won't need to alter who you are to be accepted. The sound that comes from obedience cannot be denied. It pierces past resistance and moves into places human effort cannot reach. The doors opening now were always yours. They were simply waiting for the sound of your surrender to mature into resonance that could not be ignored. And when you step into these new spaces, you'll carry peace instead of pressure. You'll be anchored, not anxious. You'll no longer seek validation because you'll walk in the awareness that I've already affirmed you. You'll notice how your words begin to carry weight in conversations that used to dismiss your insight. You'll feel a calm boldness rise up, not from pride, but from being deeply rooted in me. That's what obedience in the unseen builds, authority that doesn't shout but still shifts things. You've cultivated something unshakable. Now that foundation is causing ripples that can be felt far beyond your immediate reach. My child, never underestimate the power of your silent sacrifices. They have not disappeared into the void, they have become sound waves that now carry your name into fulfillment. Let the echo continue. Let it reach corners you didn't even aim for. For I am the one behind it. And I will ensure that every room your obedience is meant to enter will begin to open on time, on purpose, without resistance. What was once quiet will now speak volumes. There has never been a single detail in your life left to chance. The path you've walked, full of unexpected turns, prolonged pauses, and unexplainable detours, was never chaos in disguise. It was coordination. What looked scattered to the natural eye was actually a divine tapestry being formed behind the veil, each thread woven with intention by hands that know no error. I have been involved in every second, every connection, every closed gate and unexpected intersection. Nothing hath been arbitrary. The timing you wrestled with, the moments you didn't understand, the delays that brought frustration, every one of them served a higher purpose. What I'm unfolding now isn't luck or coincidence. It's the strategic unveiling of a vision written long before your first breath, and it's happening exactly when it's supposed to. You may have questioned the order of things, wondering why certain breakthroughs didn't arrive when your heart was wide open and ready. But I was working from a plan not constrained by emotions, but governed by eternity. What I'm releasing in this hour has been marked by accuracy, not impulse. It wasn't delayed, it was preserved. I didn't overlook you, I was aligning the environment so that when what belongs to you arrive, it would meet you in strength, not vulnerability. You've matured in secret places, and that growth has now caught up to the promise. The timing is exact, not early, not late. This moment had been waiting for you just as you've been waiting for it. You'll begin to notice how every former intersection begins to make sense now. People you met in passing will reappear, this time with clarity around their purpose in your story. Doors that once seemed completely irrelevant will swing wide to reveal hidden rooms of destiny. Conversations that once went nowhere will now become divine appointments. You'll understand why certain paths were blocked. It's because I never intended for you to arrive by default. You were not meant to drift into your calling. You were meant to step into it with awareness, with authority, with preparation. That's what this divine timing ensures, that when you arrive, you won't feel unworthy or underprepared. You'll feel at home, because your spirit will recognize that this is exactly where you were always meant to be. And this supernatural sequence reaches deeper than just moments and milestones. It's embedded in who you are. The things that set you apart, the traits you once thought disqualified you, were actually indicators of your assignment. I gave you those unique markings not to isolate you, but to distinguish you. I placed within you a cadence that doesn't match the world's pace because I created you to walk in rhythm with heaven, not with the noise around you. That's why you never quite fit into the molds others wanted to place you in. That's why your journey didn't mirror anyone else's. It was never meant to. I customized your route so your destination would not be contaminated by comparison. What's emerging now from the unseen will confirm how meticulously I've been scripting this. Even the smallest shifts will carry precision. You'll see the right doors opening in sequence, the right words being spoken at just the right hour, the right hands reaching toward you not out of obligation, but because they were drawn by my spirit. You'll feel a sense of order where there used to be confusion. You'll notice flow where there was once resistance. Everything that's about to rise in your life has already been etched into a plan no man can unravel. So when it begins, when the alignment begins to manifest, and the impossible starts taking shape, don't diminish it by calling it luck. Don't credit chance for what was clearly crafted by divinity. This is not accidental. This is my fingerprint in motion. And every moment ahead has been appointed, down to the smallest detail. My child, you're not stumbling forward, you're walking a path that has already been paved with precision. This unfolding is not general. It is specific. It fits you, it reflects you, and it has been waiting patiently for your arrival. The season that now surrounds you was not built in a hurry, it was built with holy accuracy, just for you. There were moments when you wondered if I had overlooked your deepest hopes. You watched others receive, advance, celebrate, and in those quiet hours, your heart whispered questions you were too afraid to speak aloud. Did I miss it? Was I not chosen? Is this all there is? But I want you to know now, with clarity that leaves no room for doubt, I have never held back out of reluctance. I have never denied you what is good. I have only preserved what is best, waiting for the precise moment when you could walk into it without fear, without striving, without it being prematurely accessed or prematurely stolen. What you thought was being kept from you was actually being kept for you. There's a difference between withholding and protecting. I never reduced your portion. I expanded its richness behind the veil. While it seemed others were receiving in rapid succession, I was refining what I planned to release over your life. Not because you were disqualified, but because you were being trusted with a depth of blessing that couldn't be rushed. I was not choosing others over you, I was preparing something for you that could only arrive when everything was ready, including you. This moment, this unveiling, this release, it carries the fragrance of that preparation. It is not just an answer to a prayer. It is the reward of endurance. It is the outpouring of what I promised would be worth the wait. You were never forgotten in the celebration of others. I simply knew your time would carry a weight of glory that required a sacred unveiling. I didn't want you to share space with distractions or be thrown into a season where your attention would be divided. So I waited. And while I waited, I built. I constructed something not only beautiful, but lasting. I took your prayers and folded them into the fabric of the miracle itself. I took your consistency and made it the foundation of what is now being handed to you. This wasn't crafted in haste. It was shaped in the quiet with my own hands, carved out of eternal intention. What you are about to walk into is not leftover favor, it's a fresh outpouring, unspoiled and untouched. It hasn't been recycled. It hasn't passed through other hands. It is yours completely, wholly, unshakably. And it carries evidence of my awareness of you. You will see things in this next chapter that make you realize I heard even the faintest request you whispered in weariness. You will encounter answers that reveal I was listening when you assumed I was silent. There will be moments of unveiling so intimate, so detailed, that only you and I will fully understand what they mean. That's how personal this is. That's how deeply I care. Your name, beloved, has not been hidden in heaven, it's been highlighted. It's been the focus of divine orchestration that now comes to culmination. I never forgot the dreams you offered me in trembling faith. I never dismissed the desires you laid down to honor my timing. I didn't ignore the sacrifices you made in secret. I counted every one of them and folded them into the package that now arrives at your doorstep, not in pieces, but in fullness. This is not partial. This is the portion designed specifically with you in mind. And when it comes, you won't feel like you're chasing it. It will settle around you like a garment that fits perfectly. You won't feel overwhelmed, you'll feel seen. You'll feel understood in a way that doesn't need explanation. What's coming is not meant to impress crowds, it's meant to heal, to restore, to satisfy the places that have waited the longest. You will laugh again, not out of disbelief, but out of the joy of seeing that I never forgot you, that I was always working, that I never once let your name slip from my attention. So now, receive what I've held for this night. Receive not with fear, but with open hands. You don't have to earn it, you've already been prepared to carry it. Let the tears come, but let them be different this time. Not tears of longing, but of fulfillment. Not of loss, but of gain. This is the night, child. The one I waited to call your name. And now, all of heaven leans forward to watch you receive what I've had ready all along. Beyond your awareness, beyond your current circle, beyond the borders of your natural understanding, something extraordinary is unfolding. The sound of your name carried by the Spirit, whispered by angels, confirmed in heaven is now being spoken in rooms you didn't know existed. Conversations are taking place where your identity, not your resume, is being highlighted. Not for genuine, but for appointment. Not for opinion, but for recognition. I have authorized a ripple in the atmosphere that carries who you are, your heart, your purity, your unshakable yes, even into dimensions you've never walked through. These are not accidental mentions. They are intentional acknowledgments aligned with divine strategy. You do not need to strive to be included in them. You are not begging for entrance. You are being summoned. The places being prepared for you have already begun to shift to accommodate what you carry. Not because of what you can do, but because of who you are becoming. Your character has a fragrance. Your spirit carries weight. These are not things you crafted, they were developed in fire, shaped in surrender, refined in solitude. And now, the sound of your obedience is reaching places that don't even know your face yet, but are already being positioned to respond to your presence. These places aren't just geographic, they are prophetic. They represent realms of influence, corridors of transformation, platforms of purpose that have awaited someone with clean hands and a whole heart. And heaven has decided that someone is you. You may not see it with your physical eyes yet, but doors are being unlocked where your name has gone before you. Hearts are being stirred. Decisions are being influenced by an unseen hand that is clearing space for you to step in without competition. Not because others were removed, but because you were reserved. You were not forgotten, you were being unveiled at the precise moment when no force could delay your release. What's happening now isn't limited to one moment or opportunity, it's the beginning of a chain reaction. An uncontainable movement set in motion by my will, fueled by your surrender. You've long felt like you were walking in shadows while others moved in sunlight. But that was because I was shielding you, not sidelining you. I was guarding your purity, not punishing your progress. And now that the timing has matured, now that your heart is rooted deep enough to handle the magnitude of the mission, I am letting your name be heard. Not to exalt you, but to establish you. Not to inflate your ego, but to confirm your calling. because what I'm releasing you into requires someone who won't be swayed by applause or broken by opposition. And that's what the wilderness made you. It didn't disqualify you, it certified you. There are platforms being cleared. There are keys being passed. There are assignments being reassigned to align with your anointing. And the people who need what you carry are being drawn not to your image, but to the anointing that drips from your story. You didn't ask for this attention. You didn't crave a stage. You simply remained faithful in obscurity. And now that faithfulness is causing echoes. These echoes are not faint, they are thunderous in the spirit. They carry weight that displaces old structures, and they are preparing the way for a shift only heaven could script. And when you arrive in these places, whether physical rooms, relational spaces, or spiritual assignments, you'll find that favor already paved the floor. You won't need to explain why you're there. You will need to prove your worth. The doors will recognize you because the echo came first. And what preceded you was not your reputation, it was my endorsement. My seal. My nod that says, this is the one I've been preparing. You will walk in with peace, not panic. With authority, not arrogance. Because you will know this wasn't a fluke, it was a fulfillment. So trust the echo, even when your feet haven't caught up. Trust that your name, carried on the winds of heaven, is arriving ahead of you, making a way where your own effort never could. You are not late. You are right on time. And tonight, the sound of your destiny is filling spaces long held in reserve, waiting for you to finally arrive, ready and whole. You've marked your days by the silence, thinking each one was a test of how long you could endure without response, without movement, without the arrival you were hoping for. You assumed I was on the other side of the delay, watching while you waited on me. But what you couldn't see was that I was right there with you, not as an absent answer but as a constant companion, pacing the same timeline with you, not detached from the process, but entirely invested in it. While you were asking when things would shift, I was looking ahead with anticipation, knowing the hour would come when everything would align, and we would step into this fulfillment side by side. I wasn't simply watching your wait, I was feeling it with you, holding it, counting down with joy, because I knew what was coming would write every moment that seemed empty. I didn't need time to catch up. I wasn't late. I wasn't trying to fix what had gone wrong. I was preparing the unveiling of something that needed every piece in position, every thread interwoven, every gate cleared before it could manifest. And I wasn't waiting for a perfect version of you, I was waiting for the moment your heart would recognize just how deeply I've walked this with you. Not from a distance, but step for step. Every weary sigh you released, I was present for. Every sleepless night you tried to reason through confusion, I sat in. Every decision to continue believing when hope felt brittle, I celebrated quietly beside you. And now that we've reached this turning point, I want you to understand this moment isn't just for you. It's for us. I've anticipated this hour like a father preparing a surprise long in advance. I've been waiting not simply to see you receive the answer, but to watch your face when the realization sets in that I was never far. That I wasn't silent out of disinterest, but because some things can only be revealed, not explained. You thought you were chasing after my promise, but in truth, I was drawing you closer to the fulfillment of something that would bond us even deeper. And now, here we are together on the edge of a manifestation that's been years in the making. But you are not walking into it alone. This has never been a one-sided pursuit. I have longed for this with you. I looked forward to it. I've counted the days, not with impatience but with joy. This shift isn't happening because you finally got everything right, it's happening because our timing has finally synchronized. Your soul is now ready to carry what your spirit always knew was coming. You've been refined not to earn it, but to hold it without fear. And I've been ready to release it not because I was waiting for you to prove anything, but because I wanted you to see that I'm more than a giver, I'm the God who walks with you before the giving ever begins. The intimacy we've built in the waiting is more valuable than any outcome. And now, as the long-awaited arrival draws near, I want you to walk into it with the awareness that I didn't meet you at the finish line, I carried you through every mile. So don't just rejoice over what's arriving, rejoice over who walked through the waiting with you. This is not a distant king handing you a reward from a throne. This is your shepherd, your defender, your closest friend stepping into the fullness of what we've held onto together. Every moment we endured, every question, every silence, every stretch of perseverance has built a foundation for what is now being poured out. And because we've arrived at this moment together, what you're about to receive will carry a depth of peace you've never known. It won't just satisfy, it will complete something eternal within you. This isn't the end of your wait, it's the beginning of our next chapter. And it will be filled not just with answers but with revelation. Not just with doors but with direction. I've been waiting not to withhold, but to celebrate with you the beauty of this hour, knowing that once it came, you would finally realize this was never a one-sided journey. I was never simply the destination, I've always been the one walking beside you, longing for the moment we would step into promise, hand in hand. I know how many times you've looked at the progress of others and wondered if you missed something along the way. You've measured your pace against timelines you never chose, feeling as though you somehow fell short or arrived too late to the fulfillment you prayed for. But let me speak directly into that place of uncertainty. You are not delayed, and you are not misplaced. You haven't fallen behind. The route I've had you on wasn't about speed, it was about shaping. While others rushed toward visible milestones, I was guiding you into hidden transformation. You see, not all movement is forward in the way the world measures progress. Sometimes, I take my beloved ones through deep places, roots before fruit, foundations before platforms, so that when the time comes, you don't just enter the promise, you carry the capacity to keep it. I'm not looking at a clock when I look at you, I'm looking at readiness. Not in your accomplishments, but in your soul. And what I see now is a heart that has been fortified, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows where faith was chosen daily without applause. I've timed this intersection with a precision that doesn't bow to earthly pressure. It's orchestrated by eternal wisdom. You haven't missed anything. In fact, much of what felt like loss was actually divine alignment disguised to protect you from counterfeit opportunities that would have drained what I've placed within you. I've routed you at moments when you felt certain of your direction, not to frustrate you, but to ensure that what I'm now releasing comes into your hands at the moment you are most anchored in me. This moment is not an accident, it is the unveiling of what's always been written in your story. You didn't stumble here. You were led. Even the things you labeled as detours were in fact detours around harm, not destiny. You don't need to try and catch up. You're not late to anything that was meant for you. The delay was not punishment, it was preparation. And now, you are perfectly positioned, even if you don't yet feel fully prepared. You're standing on the threshold of something you didn't build with your own strength but were entrusted to receive because of the posture of your heart. You're here because you kept choosing surrender when striving was easier. You're here because you chose obedience when options offered shortcuts. You're here because I saw who you were becoming while you were still doubting your progress. You won't need to explain how you arrived. You won't have to convince anyone of your worth. This next chapter will carry its own validation, its own confirmation, its own divine signature. What's coming won't feel forced, it will fit. The access that opens will feel like a deep inhale after years of holding your breath. The connections you form will feel like destiny, not convenience. You won't be scrambling to earn your place, you will be walking in it with quiet confidence, because your steps have been ordered, not by systems, but by me. I'm not placing you where you're tolerated, I'm releasing you into places where you're needed. You didn't miss your moment, you grew into it. So lay down the fear that tells you time ran out. I do not operate within the confines of human deadlines. I am the one who redeems years, reclaims moments, and resurrects assignments that look dormant. You're not in a leftover season. You're in a divine intersection where heaven meets earth in the unfolding of a holy appointment. And everything you need for this chapter is already within you. You're not starting for lack, you're launching from overflow. I have seen to it that nothing was wasted, not a tear, not a lesson, not a sacrifice. Every piece of your story has brought you to this exact moment, not behind schedule, but right on time. So walk into it, not with guilt over the past or fear of the unknown, but with bold assurance that you are exactly where I intended for this next unveiling. You are not behind. You are right on time for an encounter that was written with you in mind before time itself began. And I've been waiting for this convergence just as much as you have. What's being placed into your life now is more than provision, it's declaration. It's not a quiet act of kindness slipped in without meaning. It's a resounding shift in the spirit, the kind that doesn't just affect your immediate surroundings but sends waves through everything connected to your calling. This is more than an answered request, it's a statement from heaven that the tide has officially turned. Where there was stagnation, now there will be movement. Where there was blockage, now there will be flow. What's coming to you is not just for comfort, it's to mark the end of what bound you and the beginning of what will propel you. It's the kind of shift that announces your transition before you even open your mouth. You've been waiting for a door, but I'm giving you a moment that carries ripple effects far greater than any one opportunity. This is a holy reversal, one that corrects everything the enemy tried to distort. This is redemption in motion. Not only will you be lifted, you'll be restored in a way that redefines what restoration looks like. What was taken will return multiplied. What was delayed will be accelerated. What was broken will not just be mended, it will be transformed into something stronger than before. And it won't happen behind closed doors. It will happen in plain view. Not to shame anyone, but to show that I finish what I start, and that I defend what I've called mine. The surprise I'm sending doesn't just benefit you, it carries purpose for others as well. It's going to unlock faith in those around you. It's going to silence voices of doubt, not by arguments, but by undeniable evidence. Your breakthrough will speak. It will shift atmospheres. It will awaken dormant dreams in others simply by existing. And as it comes, you'll begin to understand that this wasn't just about getting to the other side, it was about becoming someone who could carry weight, steward influence, and radiate truth under pressure. That's what this moment carries. Confirmation that the fire didn't destroy you, it refined you. What I'm releasing is not an addition, it's an announcement. A spiritual trumpet that proclaims, this one did not give up. It's a banner over you that says, my promises are true, even when time stretches longer than expected. This moment isn't subtle. It's filled with significance that will realign everything connected to your future. It will rearrange your schedule, expand your reach, and introduce you to arenas of influence you once only prayed about from a distance. And you will notice how nothing feels rushed, yet everything starts to shift rapidly. That's what happens when timing and obedience collide. Things that seemed immovable begin to bow. This breakthrough is layered. It contains not only provision, but strategy, not only joy, but wisdom, not only blessing, but discernment. You won't just feel better, you'll see clearer. You'll understand things you used to question. You'll look back and realize that what you once called delay was actually preparation for a manifestation so specific, it couldn't be fabricated. It had to be formed in the unseen, nurtured in silence, and released when nothing could stop it. A time is now, and what arrives will be undeniable. It will match no blueprint but mine. It will align with no expectation but heaven's. And it will arrive not when you finally feel ready, but because you already are. So don't receive it passively. Embrace it fully. Celebrate it boldly. This is a moment worthy of your full attention. Not because it's flashy, but because it's holy. You're stepping into a defining chapter, one that turns pages you thought were stuck, one that opens doors you didn't know existed, one that sets the stage for what's been written over your life since the beginning. This is not random. This is divine. This is not temporary. This is foundational. This is not small. This is prophetic. And it's coming straight for you, prepared, preserved, and now released with your name written across its unfolding. There were eyes that watched you walk through seasons of obscurity and assumed your story had stalled. There were voices that quietly questioned your direction, unsure if anything meaningful would ever emerge from the steps you took in faith. Some saw your stillness and mistook it for stagnation. Others observed your silence and assumed surrender. They judge the middle of your process without knowing the depth of your preparation. But I saw what they couldn't. I measured what they missed. And now, as I bring forth what I have carefully preserved, even the ones who doubted will have no choice but to witness the unveiling of what only I could orchestrate. This moment is not about proving yourself. It's not about defending your journey. It's about me revealing what I was doing all along in the shadows, displaying how I use the hidden places to shape the ones I love. You never needed validation from those who couldn't see what was being built beneath the surface. But I want you to know this: I will not let your obedience be mocked. I will not allow your faithfulness to be seen as failure. What is emerging now will speak louder than any explanation. And the beauty of it is this: it will not rise with arrogance, but with clarity. The kind that causes silence in the face of prior disbelief. I am preparing to place you in environments where your presence will carry undeniable weight, not because of recognition, but because of what rests upon you. The radiance of what you carry will contradict every low expectation that others tried to place on you. There will be no need for words. The fruit will speak. And those who underestimated your perseverance will be confronted not by your defense, but by my manifestation. This is how I honor those who remain steady. This is how I vindicate those who chose quiet integrity over loud ambition. I allow their harvest to be seen by those who assumed nothing was growing. Your elevation will not come from a platform, it will come from purity. You will rise not because you forced the moment, but because the moment was divinely appointed. And when it happens, the people who misread your story will be left in awe, not because you demanded it, but because I decreed it. I will make it clear that it was never about public approval. It was always about private surrender. And those who once distanced themselves from you will now see how close I have always been. They will recognize that what they dismissed was actually sacred ground in progress. I'm not doing this to shame anyone. I'm doing this to glorify what I've done in you. You will become a living testament to my ability to work in silence, to develop in darkness, and to resurrect in power. They will see how I breathe life into what others call dead. They will witness how I build cathedrals from the very bricks others used to build walls against you. And in doing so, I will not only vindicate you, I will soften hearts, dismantle pride, and open eyes that have been blind to my ways. This unveiling isn't coming with revenge. It's coming with redemption. You won't carry resentment, you'll carry restoration. Your blessing will not be laced with bitterness. It will be clothed in humility. Because you've been shaped by my spirit, not by opinion. You've been refined in places others walked past, and now the fullness of what was always yours is ready to be revealed. It will carry your identity, but it will reflect my fingerprints. And that's why even the doubters will know this could only be me. So prepare yourself not to retaliate, but to rejoice. Prepare not to boast, but to bless. The people who overlooked your calling will now see the depth of my covenant. And the ones who expected your downfall will have front row seats to your rising. Not because you needed an audience, but because I ordained that even those who misunderstood your journey would witness what happens when someone refuses to give up. This is more than fulfillment, it's revelation. And it's unfolding before eyes that once couldn't see you, but will now see me through you. You came to me asking for one thing, holding on to hope for a specific solution, imagining a particular outcome that made sense within the framework of your experience. But what I'm releasing now exceeds every outline you've drawn in your mind. I am not merely responding to your request, I'm rebuilding your entire perception of what is possible. The vision you held was never wrong, but it was smaller than what I designed. Your expectation was formed out of what you could calculate, what you had seen others receive, what logic told you was achievable. But I am not limited by familiarity. I operate in realms untouched by limitation, and what I've prepared for you does not fit inside the boundaries of what you once dared to believe. You've been waiting for a specific breakthrough, but I'm initiating an entire recalibration. I'm shifting your inner compass not just toward fulfillment, but toward redefinition. What you once saw as the ceiling, I now call the floor. What you perceived as the highest peak, I call the beginning. You were praying for doors to open, and I've been preparing an entirely new structure for you to walk into. One that doesn't just accommodate your need, but expands your vision. You asked for a single answer. I'm giving you a blueprint for a future you didn't even know was an option. Not because you lacked faith, but because you didn't yet understand how wide my plans stretch. This is not a simple yes to a petition. This is the unveiling of a destiny written before you even knew how to ask. I'm releasing outcomes that carry ripple effects, not just for you, but for those connected to your voice, your presence, your influence. The change that's coming is not one-dimensional. It will redefine how you view me, how you see yourself, and how you understand your assignment. Where you once aimed for resolution, I'm bringing revolution. Where you hoped for clarity, I'm releasing revelation. This will not just shift your current situation, it will awaken a new awareness of what you're truly called to steward. You may not even recognize the first signs of it at first, because it won't match what you've been anticipating. It will feel unfamiliar, not because it's wrong, but because it's bigger. You were preparing for a restoration that returned things to the way they were. I'm releasing something that doesn't resemble anything you've seen before. You wanted closure, but I'm initiating expansion. You wanted healing, but I'm releasing anointing that will overflow into others. You were looking for answers, but I'm sending new language, new territory, and a renewed sense of identity rooted in my perspective. This next chapter will not be measured by what you get, but by who you become. And who you become will not be a reflection of survival, it will be the embodiment of transformation. You won't simply walk out of old seasons. You'll emerge with a completely new lens. You'll begin to expect differently, pray differently, move differently. The walls that once contained your hope will no longer fit the shape of what you carry. I've increased your capacity through every season of surrender, and now I'm pouring into that expansion without restraint. So don't brace yourself for just a moment, prepare yourself for a shift in mindset. I'm not just releasing provision, I'm imparting vision. You'll begin to dream on a scale you once thought was reserved for others. You'll see with clarity that the weight wasn't about withholding, it was about preparing the depth required for what's being delivered. And what's being delivered is not something you'll have to maintain in your own strength, it will flow through the identity I've built within you. It will come naturally, because you've been aligned supernaturally. From this day forward, let your hope stretch. Let your imagination run free from the limitations of past disappointments. You're not returning to old patterns, you're entering something fresh. This is not a recycled opportunity, it's a rebirth of expectation. And it is my joy to give it to you, not in pieces, but in wholeness. Not to meet your imagination, but to expand it forever. Because I'm not here to fulfill the small version of your dream, I'm here to reveal the fullness of mine for you. There were moments where it felt like everyone was being chosen, but you, like appointments and favor, bypassed your door while others walked into what looked like fullness. You watched, waited, celebrated them outwardly while inwardly you wrestled with silence. The calendar flipped, seasons shifted, and you started to wonder if perhaps your name had been removed from the list entirely. But I need you to know something sacred now, something only heaven could truly reveal. You never missed it. You were never forgotten in the wave of others being seen. Your moment wasn't skipped, it was safeguarded. I was not denying you. I was reserving your place in the story for the moment when nothing could distort the beauty of what I was about to reveal through your life. This isn't a delayed favor, it's a divine unveiling. Your turn was not passed over. It's been protected with holy intent, kept apart from premature exposure or lesser stages that could not bear the weight of your assignment. I knew that when I released you, it couldn't just be for applause or appearance, it had to carry substance, and that takes time. I've been nurturing something within you that no man could access or alter. And now, because the time has ripened and the heavens have opened, I'm releasing the fullness, not a portion, not a glimpse, but the undeniable measure of what was written with your name engraved upon it before time began. The glory attached to what's being placed in your hands cannot be confused with human effort. That's why I waited. That's why it wasn't time before. Had it come too early, others might have pointed to natural ability or connections or timing. But what I'm doing now will carry the kind of brilliance that silences speculation. What comes next will not just fulfill longing, it will leave no room for confusion about its origin. People will know, this was me. This was my hand. This was my glory revealed through one who chose me even when no reward seemed in sight. I didn't want your breakthrough to look like everyone else's. I didn't want your rise to mimic familiar patterns. I wanted your story to be marked by the kind of power that only flows through purity and perseverance. And that's why I held your turn. That's why I slowed what others tried to accelerate. Because I was more interested in fullness than speed. I was more focused on establishing you than impressing anyone around you. You are not behind. You are not late. You're walking into the exact hour that was set aside for you before you even took your first breath. Others may have moved ahead of you on earthly timelines, but what I'm giving now cannot be compared. It won't be measured by surface success, it will be known by its supernatural impact. Doors will not only open, they will remain open. Opportunities won't fizzle out, they will anchor you. Relationships connected to this season will not drain you, they will build alongside you. You'll no longer feel like you're running to catch up, because I'm not sending you to fit into systems, I'm sending you to carry something that reshapes the room. And those who used to overlook you will be stunned not by your presence, but by the undeniable grace that follows it. So release the fear that says you're too late. Shake off the shame that whispers you lost your chance. Nothing is lost that I have reserved. Nothing is wasted that I have hidden. And what I've hidden, I'm now revealing, not because the world is ready, but because you are. You've trusted me in the tension. You walked when you wanted to stop. You've worshipped with tears in your eyes and heaviness in your chest. And now, that posture has paved the way for the kind of release that doesn't just lift you into promise, but draws others into encounter. So when your moment unfolds, and it will, don't question it. Don't downplay it. Don't defer it. Step into it knowing it was never a backup plan. It was the plan. It was always yours. And I held it, not because you weren't worthy, but because the glory that's about to be revealed through it needed to be impossible to deny and unforgettable to those who watch. It's your turn. Not stolen, not delayed, held, cradled, covered, and now released. The length of your wait was never an accident. Every added moment, every extra mile, every delay that tested the limits of your patience, all of it had purpose. You may have seen others move ahead while you stood still, wondering why their timeline seemed smooth while yours twisted with uncertainty. But I need you to understand this clearly. The scale of what I have designed for you demanded more room. The size of your calling, the depth of your assignment, the weight of the influence you're meant to carry, these things could not be crammed into small spaces or rushed into shallow soil. What I've prepared wasn't meant to arrive in fragments. It required fullness. And fullness takes room to breathe, time to stretch, space to unfold. You weren't waiting because I had forgotten. You were waiting because I was expanding your capacity. I had to clear out everything that wouldn't support what I'm entrusting to you now. I had to allow certain structures to collapse so I could rebuild something capable of holding glory, not pressure. Some things needed to be uprooted: old expectations, limited mindsets, connections that couldn't walk with you into the next place. Uprooting hurt, I know. But what you couldn't see was that I was excavating, digging out what would have buckled under the weight of what's now coming. I wasn't just preparing the blessing, I was preparing the vessel. You. What I'm sending requires strength that doesn't waver, vision that sees beyond surface, character that can withstand applause without compromise. Those don't come instantly. They come through refinement, repetition, and surrender. Every layer I peeled back, every lesson I pressed into your spirit, every moment I held you in mystery, it was creating the capacity you needed to not just receive what's next, but to sustain it. Had I released this too soon, it would have looked impressive for a moment, but it wouldn't have lasted. I love you too much to let you receive something prematurely only to watch it fall apart. That's why I waited. That's why I had you wait. And now, the fullness is ready. The structure is complete. The space hath been cleared, and the time for fulfillment has arrived. What you are stepping into will not be short-lived or superficial, it will be established, rooted, enduring. Because the extra time allowed me to finish every hidden detail. I left nothing undone. I didn't rush the process, and because of that, what I'm giving won't need to be redone. You'll walk into this season with peace, not panic. With strength, not striving. You'll notice that what used to drain you no longer has access to your energy. What once intimidated you will now feel small beneath the weight of your purpose. Others may not understand why your process took so long, but they weren't meant to. They weren't there in the quiet spaces where you kept choosing me instead of compromise. They didn't see the nights you said yes again through trembling faith. But I saw. I recorded every act of trust. And now I will unfold something so perfectly timed that even you will marvel at how seamlessly it fits. It will not be awkward. It will not feel forced. It will arrive with ease because the foundation is now strong enough to support it. You're not entering this new place exhausted, you're entering it expanded. And that difference matters. You're not carrying frustration, you're carrying authority. You're not burdened by what didn't happen, you're fueled by what I've made possible. And everything that's coming to you now has space to thrive because I made room when you didn't realize it was being cleared. The magnitude was never the problem. It just needed time. And now, the time has come. So walk with your head lifted. Not in pride, but in holy confidence. You're not stepping into something fragile, you're stepping into fulfillment that's been preserved by my own hand. The wait was long. Yes. But the size of what's arriving will silence every question. And when it comes, you'll know. The wait was worth every second. Because the magnitude wasn't a delay, it was destiny growing in secret until the space was finally ready. This moment has been marked since before you even recognized its significance. While you were focused on surviving, I was focused on bringing to completion a vow I made to your spirit in a place too deep for memory, but too sacred to be forgotten. It wasn't shouted, it was spoken gently, in a time when you didn't even fully know what you were agreeing to. But your soul responded with trust, and I tucked away that promise not as a dream to tease you, but as a covenant to keep. And now, on this very night, what was once tucked in silence is rising with unmistakable clarity. What I whispered is becoming visible. What I concealed is beginning to breathe in the open. This is not a random date on a calendar. This night carries weight beyond anything the world can register. It's not defined by clocks or schedules, it's defined by completion. Completion of what I've been doing in your heart. Completion of the foundation that was built brick by brick through every obedient step you took when it didn't make sense. You see, the timing of this unveiling isn't rooted in convenience, it's rooted in readiness. And you're ready now in ways that you couldn't have been before. Not because you've perfected the path, but because your spirit has matured in places the world never saw. The shift taking place right now is not about a single breakthrough, it's the beginning of a divine unfolding that has layers, dimensions, purpose, and longevity. What starts tonight will not fade with emotion. It will carry substance, rooted in everything you've walked through. Every painful step, every silent tear, every quiet yes. Those moments were not ignored, they were shaping the soil for what I'm planting now. And this planting won't require striving to grow. It will bloom because the timing is aligned with the voice that spoke it into being. You've longed for change, but I've been preparing you for fulfillment. Not the temporary kind that fades after a few days, but the kind that sustains, that multiplies, that spreads peace wherever it lands. This night will not leave you the same, not because of what enters your life, but because of what awakens within you. That inner certainty, that deep knowing, that unshakable calm, it's the evidence that the promise was not imagined. It was real, and it's now alive in your atmosphere. You won't need to strive to interpret the moment. I will confirm it in ways that can't be denied. You will feel the shift not only in circumstances, but in your soul's rhythm. Old pressure will fall off. Unseen weights will lift. Confusion will clear. What once required constant effort to believe will now flow with ease. That's the mark of promise fulfilled, not just external change, but internal freedom. And that freedom begins now. You may have forgotten the exact words I spoke, Time, fatigue, and the noise of life tried to drown out what was once so vivid. But I never forgot. I held it in my hand, shielding it until the time was safe, until you were strengthened, until the environment could support the promise instead of war against it. And now, not only are you stepping into what was preserved, you're stepping in with the authority of someone who endured. You will no longer feel like you are behind the moment. You will walk with it, beside it, within it, because it was made for you, and you were made for it. This night may seem quiet to those around you, but in the spirit, it is explosive. It marks a spiritual milestone, an invisible door swinging open into a territory you've waited long to enter. And when you cross over, you will need to announce it. Your life will speak louder than words. Your steps will be guided with divine rhythm. Your thoughts will carry clarity that only comes from alignment. And your peace will become a beacon, because where my promise is fulfilled, my presence increases. And my presence is resting heavily on you tonight. So pause. Breathe it in. This isn't just another evening. This is the night I've waited for with you. The night when the whisper becomes reality. When the invisible becomes tangible. When the promise you barely remembered reveals itself in fullness. Tonight, beloved, is not ordinary. It's sacred. It's historic. It's ours. What hath been initiated cannot be reversed. The moment heaven released it, your name was etched into its movement, not in ink that fades or markings that can be smudged, but in an eternal seal that nothing can erase. This isn't an abstract blessing wandering through possibility. It is a targeted release, a divine appointment bound by my authority and guided by my messengers. You are not one of many this time, you are the one. The release coming your way doesn't require chasing or pleading. It's already been assigned to you and cannot be redirected. There's no substitute waiting in the wings, no reassignment in the case of delay. It belongs to you and only you, and I've ensured it will arrive on time, in full, untouched by interference. You've had seasons where things slipped through your fingers, where outcomes dissolved at the very edge of your reach. But this is not that. This isn't something you'll lose. This isn't fragile. It's fortified. While others may have questioned your journey, and even you began to wonder whether you were overlooked, I've been orchestrating something that didn't require visibility, it required precision. And that precision has now culminated in movement. Heaven is not considering your request, it has already responded. The spiritual mail has been stamped, the motion has begun, and no darkness has the clearance to interfere with what I've released in your name. This isn't an opportunity in disguise. This is fulfillment wrapped in authority. It doesn't wobble under pressure. It doesn't flinch when opposition rises. It advances with the full weight of heaven behind it. I've attached my word to it. That means every hindrance must move. Every delay must dissolve. Every resistance must yield. What carries your name also carries my presence, and where my presence leads, nothing stands in the way for long. You will begin to feel the shift before the evidence even arrives. Your spirit will sense the nearness, not as anxiety, but as a sacred awareness that the atmosphere has shifted for your good. And you won't need to second-guess whether it's truly yours. There will be no need to ask me for confirmation after confirmation. When it comes, it will fit. It will feel like home. Not because it's familiar, but because it matches the spiritual DNA of what I've deposited within you. It will speak the same language as your purpose. It will resonate with the prayers you prayed when no one else was listening. You'll feel a stillness in your bones, a knowing in your chest, a peace that doesn't require explanation. That's how you will know this isn't a distraction or an illusion, it's the arrival of what has always been intended for you. Others may try to understand it, analyze it, even question it, but none of that will affect its trajectory. I'm not delivering this through human channels that can be intercepted or confused. I'm bringing it through pathways reserved for the ones I trust, the ones who have waited without compromising their integrity. You didn't bargain for this. You didn't manipulate your way here. You simply stayed faithful. You stood when sitting would have been easier. You believed when the silence was deafening. You honored me when it would have been safer to retreat. And now, what's coming toward you carries the scent of that faith. It's not just coming quickly, it's coming surely. With direction, with clarity, with power. It is not just an answer, it is a signpost that marks a new direction, a fresh rhythm, and a deeper dimension of the journey I've mapped for you. And it will not stop short. It will not deter. It will not downgrade. Because I authored this moment from a place of perfection, and I do not misplace what I seal. So lift your expectation. Align your heart. Let go of the hesitation that has accompanied past disappointments. This isn't a maybe, it's a divine yes. And it's carrying your name like a banner. My angels do not wander, they deliver. My timing does not guess, it accomplishes. And my promises do not tease, they fulfill. The movement has begun. The delivery is already near. And my child, nothing and no one can outrun what I've destined to find you. You've walked through days where anxiety spoke louder than truth, where fear sat beside you like an unwelcome companion, whispering false narratives into your soul. It crept in through uncertainty, disguised itself as logic, and convinced you to second-guess what I had already spoken. Doubt chipped away at the edges of your confidence, and fear tried to rewrite your story before it had a chance to unfold. But I have seen that struggle. I've heard every internal debate, every war between what you hoped for and what you feared would happen instead. And now, I am releasing something so tangible, so anchored in my nature, that those voices will lose their grip entirely. What's coming is not just a gift to enjoy, it's a remedy to restore what was eroded in the battles no one saw. This will not be shallow encouragement that fades by morning. It will be a stabilizing force, sent directly into the cracks where insecurity once lived. Where fear constructed false ceilings over your vision, I am sending freedom that removes every imaginary boundary. You'll find yourself thinking differently, not because of motivational effort, but because truth will reignite the areas where deception once hid. This restoration will not ask permission. It will walk in boldly, reclaiming every corner of your heart that hesitation has tried to occupy. The restoration I'm bringing isn't about going back to who you were before the battle, it's about stepping into a version of yourself that's been formed through fire and refined through faith. You won't just feel better, you'll be stronger. Your discernment will be sharper. Your clarity will be deeper. The fog of fear that once clouded your thinking will lift, replaced by the firm knowledge of my presence guiding you. I'm not giving you a tool to fight fear, I'm removing its influence entirely. What I'm depositing into your life now will not leave room for intimidation. Peace will be your default, not your goal. And that peace won't come as a fragile calm that needs constant maintenance, it will come like a river, unbothered by temporary chaos around it. It will quiet your heart even when storms try to rise. You will notice yourself no longer reacting to triggers the way you used to. The same thoughts that once sent you spiraling will now pass through your mind without staying. This is what I'm giving you, not just relief, but authority. You will not just escape fear, you will walk in power that fear cannot touch. You won't hide from uncertainty, you will stand with boldness, knowing that I am present in every unknown. And what doubt tried to take from you, joy, peace, expectation, vision, I am restoring it with interest. The years you spent dimming your own light, the opportunities you declined out of worry, the relationships that suffered under the weight of suspicion, all of it is being addressed by my hand. I am redeeming the time that fear consumed. I am restoring the confidence that second-guessing dismantled. You will not limp into your promise, you will run into it, fueled by courage I myself have planted within you. This restoration is not something you will need to fight for, it's something you will receive. Not because you've been perfect, but because you've remained. You've kept seeking. You've stayed open. And because of that, I am now flooding your inner world with assurance that cancels confusion. I am aligning your emotions with my voice. And from that alignment will come a new strength, a strength that holds steady when opinions shift, when challenges arise, when outcomes unfold differently than expected. You won't fall apart when things change. You'll move with me in peace, knowing I am the one who goes before and behind you. So rest, child. The storm has no authority anymore. Its sound may still echo for a while, but its power has been stripped. I am sending what fear cannot counterfeit and doubt cannot block. You will not have to debate what's yours, I will make it clear. You will not have to defend your peace, I will guard it. This is more than a turning point. It's a reclamation. What was once fragile will now stand firm. And what was once shaken will now be anchored in the fullness of who I've always known you were becoming. What you are stepping into isn't just a change of circumstances or a new set of opportunities, it's a divine reset, a recalibration that reaches deep into the core of who you are and realigns everything with the blueprint I originally placed within you. Over time, life tried to pull you in directions that didn't reflect the fullness of your design. Expectations from others, fear of disappointing people, survival instincts, and even good intentions began to shape how you saw yourself. Piece by piece, your perception drifted from my original intent. You began to shrink in certain areas to fit environments that weren't made for your calling. You adjusted your voice to accommodate spaces that weren't equipped to carry your volume. But now, I'm calling all of it back into place, not by force but by truth. Not by pressure but by grace. This is the hour when false definitions fall off. You no longer have to wear labels that others placed on you out of their own limitations. You don't have to carry roles you picked up just to keep the peace. I'm bringing you back to the clarity of what I spoke over you from the beginning, before the opinions, before the mistakes, before the pressure to perform. This shift is holy. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to the original you, the one who walked in confidence with me before comparison clouded your direction. The one who moved freely in joy before fear rewrote the script. I'm peeling away the layers that covered your true self, and what remains will shine without apology. This is why some things had to be removed, not because they were bad, but because they were not in alignment. You don't need to fit every room. You were made to carry my presence in very specific places. And now that your heart has been softened by surrender, and your spirit has been strengthened by endurance, I am positioning you in environments that reflect your authenticity. No more pretending. No more suppressing the fire inside you. No more settling into versions of yourself that feel safe but aren't honest. I'm restoring your voice, your fire, your uniqueness, and I'm doing it in a way that feels like coming home. This realignment will change how you see everything. You'll notice that relationships begin to shift, not because you've changed the way you love, but because you're no longer shrinking to make others comfortable. Your decisions will carry new conviction. You'll no longer need to explain why you can't say yes to what doesn't resonate with your spirit. You'll feel a sacred boldness rising, not loud or aggressive, but deeply rooted. This is the confidence that comes from knowing you're finally in sync with who I created you to be. And as you walk in that alignment, provision will meet you with ease. Favor will find you because you're no longer chasing approval, you're flowing in assignment. The doors that open will match your purpose, not just your potential. The people who show up will value your soul, not just your skill. This is what happens when identity is restored. The atmosphere around you begins to mirror the truth within you. You won't have to push or manipulate. What belongs to the real you will be drawn by my hand. No striving, and no exhaustion. Just presence-led progress. This isn't about going back to something old, it's about rising into something original. I didn't ask you to rebuild from scratch. I've been preserving the blueprint all along. Every wrong turn, every season of confusion, every time you questioned who you were, it all served to bring you to this moment of awakening. You see clearly now because the fog has lifted. You feel lighter now because the false has fallen. This alignment isn't just spiritual, it will affect your health, your thoughts, your pace, your relationships. You'll breathe deeper. You'll sleep more peacefully. You'll dream with clarity again. So embrace this shift, not with fear, but with reverence. The real you, the one I've been drawing out, is not too much, not too late, not too far gone. That version has always been enough. And now, every part of you is falling into place with my timing, my calling, and my design. You're not just moving forward, you're moving true. And when you walk in truth, every step becomes a declaration. I am who he says I am. And I'm finally aligned. What's unfolding before you now isn't something you stumbled upon or accidentally discovered. It's not a detour, not a substitute, not a result of good fortune or random opportunity. This is the place your spirit has always been drawn toward, the assignment written into your DNA, the fulfillment embedded deep in your soul before you even had the language to articulate it. You've mistaken it for something unfamiliar because it's arriving in a form you've never seen before. But make no mistake, this was always yours. It was reserved, not borrowed. It was hidden, not forgotten. And now that the appointed hour has come, you're not simply receiving access, you're taking possession of a territory your heart has been quietly reaching for all along. You didn't need to earn this space by performing or proving yourself. You were being shaped to carry it with authority and maturity. This moment isn't a reward for effort, it's the manifestation of inheritance. The gifts you carry, the insight you've gained, the discernment you walk in, none of it was wasted. Every unseen decision to walk in integrity when compromise was easier became preparation for this unveiling. Every sacrifice that left you wondering if it mattered was actually a brick laid on the path leading right here. And now that you've arrived at the threshold of what has always been yours, I want you to see it not as something you're being granted, but as something you're reclaiming. This is why the battle to get here was so intense. This is why the warfare felt personal. The enemy wasn't just fighting what you could do, he was terrified of what would be activated once you stepped into alignment with what was already assigned to your name. He tried to delay it, distract you from it, discourage you out of believing it still existed. But he couldn't destroy what I had sealed. He couldn't steal what I had set apart. And though the journey left you bruised at times, it didn't disqualify you, it deepened you. You don't walk in now as a victim of delay, you walk in as the heir of a promise that time could not erase. And you will know it's yours not just because it fits, but because it feels like remembering. You'll move in ways that feel instinctual, speak words that feel familiar to your soul, step into responsibilities that feel like second nature. That's not pride, it's the fruit of carrying something in your spirit long before you held it in your hands. You were created for this. That's why your heart longed for it even when your surroundings didn't reflect it. That's why no counterfeit could satisfy, and no shortcut ever felt complete. You've always been drawn here, and now the door is open not for you to knock, but to enter boldly, knowing this is not foreign land, it is home. Others may not understand the sudden shift in your confidence. They may think you've changed overnight. But what they don't see is that this isn't a new version of you, it's the true version of you. The one who hath been in waiting. The one who endured pruning, trusted in silence, and held on to vision when it seemed foolish to keep hoping. You've never lost your identity, you've been growing into the capacity to carry it fully. And now, the time has arrived. Not to strive, but to walk. Not to perform, but to become. And what I place in your care from this point forward will not just be a blessing, it will be a responsibility. A sacred one. Because you'll carry influence that shifts things in others. You'll carry language that frees hearts. You'll carry peace that disarms chaos. And it won't come from effort, it will flow from being. From the reality that you're finally living inside what was made for you. This isn't a new beginning. It's a holy return. A reconnection between the promise and the one who was always meant to walk it out. So go ahead and take your place, not with trembling, but with reverence. You don't have to pretend to belong. You do. You don't have to shrink to fit in. You won't. This was not given to you on loan. This has always been yours. And now that it's time, I'm not just placing it in front of you, I'm walking with you into it. Step in, beloved. Everything is waiting for you. Amen.